And we are live. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my live stream. My name is Tyler Ramsbey. And hey, whether you're watching this live as it happens or after the fact on YouTube, it is an honor to have you taking the time to hang out with me. We are going to have a little bit of background music today because I'm feeling the background music. I just need to get it set up on my end. There we go. Let me know in the chat if the music's too loud. I don't really care if it's too quiet, but hey, as long as you can hear me and a little bit of background music, that works for me. For today's stream, the first thing we're going to do, it might be the only thing, I have no idea how long it's going to take. We're going to dive into the brand new SSRF room on TryHackMe that was just released today. Excited to dig into it. I know SSRF, or server-side request forgery, is something that is really confusing for a lot of people getting into web apps. So as we dive into this, I'll go through the room as usual. I will go through every single task, but also just share a little bit of context from my role as a pen tester in some ways that I've seen this in the real world. And a special note, when I did Advent of Cyber, this past Advent of Cyber, one of my official rooms where I did the official walkthrough was the SSRF to shut down, I think it was a command and control server, if my memory serves me correct. So let's dive into SSRF. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And also, let me get chat pulled up. Overgrown Carrots working on a CTF. Yeah, dude, I have no idea. What is, where's this CTF at? Is it like a hack the box CTF or something else? MD to PDF SSRF. So it is an SSRF and you have file read on it, but you still can't log in because of the no login. Yeah, dude, I have no idea, especially without doing it. But even if I did it, I guarantee you I still wouldn't have any idea. But all right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything on LinkedIn. Okay. Think we are good to go. What I have done is I got Kato pulled up here already and I launched the room, but I don't think I'm even on the VPN yet. So let me jump onto the TryHackMe VPN, go over to download, sudo open VPN Tenebrae. I think it's this one. There we go. Beautiful. So we'll name that VPN and we'll just, I don't know if I'll need it, but we'll go to TryHackMe and we'll make directory for SSRF. All right, we'll name that our terminal. Okay, and here we go. As usual, everyone, I have not prepped this ahead of time, have not gone through the room ahead of time. I'll just be diving into it blind, sharing my honest reactions, sharing things that I stumble on, and hopefully giving a little bit of insight. And here's the thing. I am quite confident this is a free room. Let me check. Yeah, here we go. This is a free room, which means anyone can deploy it. If we just go to room SSRF HR is the URL to get to the room. But even without a TryHackMe subscription, you can work through this with me, whether you're doing it live on stream or after the fact on YouTube. Let's do it together. So get the room up, boot up the machine, get your attack box or your VM booted up, and let's dive into things. Introduction. And if you're new to the way I work through TryHackMe rooms, a lot of people just like skim it even on stream. I'm gonna read it in its entirety for two reasons. One, like I said before, I'm working through it live. And two, when we do labs, and I include myself in this, whether it's TryHackMe or Hack the Box Academy or Pen Tester Academy, whatever it is, or Pen Tester Lab, I think that's another one. When we do labs like this, we have a tendency to speed read and then get stuck because we didn't read everything. So I'm gonna force us to slow down. I will be your audio reader as we work through this room together. Here we go. The landscape of web attacks constantly evolves, with threat actors devising sophisticated methods to compromise systems. As each day passes, the expansion of web-based threats warrant the need for robust cybersecurity measures to counter the ever-advancing tactics employed by malicious actors. And we are going to be the malicious actor this time, I think. In this room, we will discuss a similar attack known as server-side request forgery. Now, SSRF is a web app security vulnerability. Let me just pause here. If you are applying to be a pen tester, the chances are if you get a pen test role, the junior pen test role, you're going to spend the majority of your time doing web apps. Now, that's not true across the board, but generally speaking, most pen test companies, the majority of the assessments they do are web apps. So if you want to be a pen tester, lean into this because you will be asked about SSRF in your interview. I was asked about it in my interview at Rhino. You will be asked about it almost anywhere you apply to be a pen tester. Our SSRF is a web app security vulnerability that allows the attacker to force the server. Here's the key. So when we go through this, you're going to be really confused unless you understand this. The requests that we are talking about are not coming from the attacker. The attacker is forcing the server, the web server, so a trusted host, to make the request. So the web server is kind of like this slave being controlled by the attacker, saying do this, do this, do this, because of some other vulnerability that the attacker was able to find, or SSRF vulnerability. So it allows the attacker to force the server to make unauthorized requests to any local or external source. So you can not only access internal things, but you can even do like port scanning on the internal network. I'm not sure if this room will show that to us. If it doesn't, I'll see if I can show it to you, but you can scan to see what ports are open on the internal network and do things like that on behalf of the web server. SSRF allows an attacker to interact with internal systems, potentially leading to data leaks, service disruption, or even RCE. I need to change the sound. Oh, I can't change this, a live stream. If I go like this. There we go, that's better. Okay. So, learning objectives. Get chat pulled back up. Understand the workings of SSRF, practically testing various types of SSRF, a few important tools for exploitation, and key mitigation and defensive measures, so both red team and blue team. Having completed the following rooms before starting this one is recommended, so go complete those, which I think I've done all those. Connecting the machine, I've already done that. We'll use a vulnerable human resource management system, HRMS web app throughout the room to understand various SSRF technologies. Please wait 2 to 3 machines for it to fully boot up. And now we need to add this to Etsy host. So super easy to do. Did not mean to do that. Let's copy our IP, go over to here. We'll do sudo nano. Nano is sort of like a text editor built into Linux. We have to do sudo because our regular user doesn't have permission to edit Etsy host. And if you're new to this, all Etsy host is doing is saying, hey, when you see this IP, I want you to resolve it to this host name. So we'll drop that in there and hrms.thm. So let me grab that. Drop that in there. Oh wait, not with the HTTP though. There we go. And then Control X. This looks super confusing here, but all these caret keys just means control. So to exit, we're gonna do Control X, and then save modified buffer. Click the Y button on your keyboard, and then hit Enter. And now, if we ping HR, there we go. We have access to it. So perfect. So far, so good. And we should be able to access it as well. Let's see if we can. There we go. So I actually already see like this URL thing right here. I can already tell you that's going to be an SSRF factor. Like, can we do? Maybe it doesn't take file. I'm sure we'll learn about it, but that's often how you test SSRF. When you see a URL like that, if it allows the file parameter, you can like literally just read files like Etsy password. We might have to escape some things if it allows URL, which let me see what it looked like initially. That's not what I wanted to do. I just want to go to this. Just want to play with it a little bit. So we're looking at copyright, I see. So we're pulling in a file, it looks like. Can we do like... So look at that. I already exploited it without doing the room. We're looking at local files here. So if we type in config, what we are doing is we're telling, like, we can't reach config, right? It's only available to localhost, but here we're fetching a file from localhost, so we have access to the local host. So if I look at config, this is pulling in config.php, and we can see we have an admin URL, we have a username, and we have a password. And I'm guessing we'll go through this in the room, but I want to play with this. Before we even look at the room, let me just mess around with this a little bit. There's a cool tool that can do... You can't hear me. Are you sure you can't hear me? Hold up. Can anyone hear me? It says my audio's coming through. I'll check on my own. Hold up. Oh, they can hear me. Hey, Yoon's over on YouTube. I think it's just you, my friend. Other people in chat are saying they can hear me just fine. Let's see. says my audio's coming through. Yeah, I can hear myself as well. So if you're having issues hearing my audio, it's you, not me. So just make sure your speakers are working. Yeah, everybody's saying they can hear me. So over on YouTube, Eunice, if I'm saying your name right, check your settings and you should be good to go. All right, anyways, before I dive into the room itself, I just want to play around with this. We know that we have SSRF up here. There's a cool tool called SSRF map, I think is what it's called. Let's see. Yeah, let me show you guys this tool. I'll have to look at the docs to remember how to use it. But this automates some of this, and it can even do some cool file read stuff for us. I think this is the tool I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Let's play around with it. And then I will eventually dive into the room, but I think it's a good idea to experiment on your own. See what we can like mess around with on our own, and then we'll dive into the room. So far, we already have admin creds just by me guessing that there was a config file. If y'all missed that, config, and we have admin creds right there. So we could probably go in and really pwn some stuff, but let's keep playing around. Go into SSRF map, and let's do pip install -r requirements. Okay, I think we're okay. Okay, there we go. So we have SSRF map. And if we look at what we can do here, we can pass it a request file. So like in burp or Cato, you could copy that down. We can do a parameter to target, modules to handle. Can I just pass it a URL? Or do I need to pass it a request file? Well, we can pass it a request file. That's fine. It'll be a very simple request, just a GET request. But if we go over to Cato, we'll turn that on. And we'll do that. Here's our request. Copy it. Turn it off. Nano request.text. Paste it in there. And how do I mark the module? Well, all right, let's just try it. If I do a basic thing like this, r request.text. What's p? Param? Oh yeah, it is URL is actually the parameter. And then what do we want to do? Let's do read files. What's R files? Oh, target files. Can we do R files? Okay, I don't think I'm doing this right. What if I just do this? What up, St. Phil from IT? Going well. Oh yeah, Eunice said, sorry, the YouTube tab was muted on my browser for some reason. No worries, no worries. I don't think I'm using this tool right. Let's figure it out. If we go back over to the GitHub. So yeah, we did all that. Examples. You need, oh, so we need a request with the parameter to fuzz. It might be throwing it off because of how the SSRF is done, like in the straight up in the GET request. That's my only guess. Because like it's already doing it right there, right? We have localhost config. Like we're not even, you don't even have to bypass or do anything special. It's right there. So maybe that's why it's not working. Because we could do, can we do like, PHP is not found, so it just wants PHP. So config would work because it's config.php. We can probably do index as well. Yeah, and so here's the thing. If you're new to web apps, turn down my music a little bit. When you think about like JavaScript is client side. So if you do like cross-site scripting, and it executes on a user, it's executing client side in the context of their browser. PHP is server side. So generally speaking, you can't read PHP code on your own, but if you have an SSRF vulnerability, we can do a file read and we can see server side code. So we have this index.php. And so here is what our index.php looks like. If request is not if the request is blank, then hey, return this localhost copyright, which is what it did. And then we're able to abuse that because that's accepting user input and we can just go anywhere we want with localhost. I wonder if we can do port scanning as well. So if I do like localhost, we're on 80. So then I get server not found down there. Can I hit other things? Like, can I hit my own server? So it's just a local host. So would it just be 10.13.4.234? Nope. So it must be limited to localhost. All right, well, if we go back to our localhost and we have our config, let's just check this out. What if we log in here? Oh wait, that's a local IP. I see. So we should be able to read admin.php then. Oh yeah, because it's already appending PHP to it, my bad. Oh, admin PHP isn't found. Okay, but I bet we can hit that IP there. So if we do 192.168.2.10 admin.php. Dang it, come on Firefox. Why the frick do you do that crap, Firefox? Like, no one likes that, bruh. Okay, so interesting. Still server not found. Well, HRMS admin. Is it just an admin endpoint? Just /admin maybe? Can I log in here? Oh, look, I found a flag. Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. Let me log back out. Like I said, I'm going to do the full room. So we'll go back through and do all the flags. Just wanted to mess with it myself a little bit more. So that's just giving me the admin.php. Or showing us where to log in. Is there an admin here? No. Okay, let's do the actual room and see what I missed about that. But so far we have really basic SSRF. We can read the config thing. We logged in. We can manage users. Actually, let me look at that too. I wonder if there's more SSRF after we log in. Let's just look at what the web application shows us. Okay, blah, blah. We'll get that flag later. Wow, this is badly designed. Can I go? I can't go over. What's my profile? Setting analytical data. Oh, look, we have more SSRF up here. We have a getinfo.php. Like, can I change that to config again? That was .php though. Stay tuned for updated training content. Who do we have for employees? We got Josh, we got Alice. Can I update them? What happens when I change the category? Nothing? Did I break it? Oh yeah, nothing happens. Okay. Oh, look at this. We are passing it an ID here. Oh, look, there's our admin account. And if we go back, remember that admin.php? I was wondering how we were able to get to that. If we go back to this, log out, I just don't remember the creds. Go to config, and I bet these creds work now that we can access the admin.php. Although it's asked for an email. Maybe that doesn't actually go anywhere. Okay, we found a couple things of SSRF, and I just noticed it right there. It's in the ID parameter. Is there... error fetching content. And then it wants us to sign in. Okay, now I'll start the room. I think I've done a lot of the room just messing around with it, but let's see what we can learn. I can access the website, absolutely. Anatomy of an attack. When developing network software, it's common to make requests to external servers. Developers often use these requests to fetch remote resources like software updates or import data from other applications. While these requests are typically safe, improper implementation can lead to a vulnerability known as SSRF. This is a good diagram. So, we can't access the victim server. So if you think about our admin one, so if we go back over to here, can I just back out here? So we on our own cannot access localhost config because we're not on the local host. We also can't access this IP, right? If I try to go to that IP, it's a local IP, I can't hit it. But abusing SSRF, we can, and that's what this diagram's showing us. So let's say this is that admin server right there. So this 192.168, that's this. We can't get to it. We can't make a direct request to it. But by accessing the publicly available web server and abusing SSRF, then we can make the web server make that request on our behalf, and it sends the response back to us. All right, an SSRF vulnerability can arise when user-provided data is used to construct a request, such as forming a URL. To execute SSRF attack, an attacker can manipulate a parameter value within the vulnerable software, which we've done twice now with the URL and ID parameter, effectively creating or controlling requests from that software and directing them towards other servers or even the same server. SSRF vulnerabilities can be found in various types of computer software across a wide range of programming languages and platforms, as long as the software operates in a networked environment. While most SSRF vulns are commonly discovered in web apps and other network software, they can also be present in server software. Charles said, a bit late, what have I missed, Tyler? Well, technically we're just starting the room, but before I started going through the room, I tried it on my own, and I think I found creds and everything just looking at some parameters here. So I've done a lot of the room, but without actually going through the room, just me poking at it. So now we're going through it step by step, seeing what I may have missed. OWASP breaking. SSRF is a formidable security threat, earning a spot in OWASP top 10 list, making it imperative to understand and defend against it as it jeopardizes data integrity and application security. As per OWASP, factors regarding SSRF are mentioned below. And I will just say, I do see this in the real world. I've come across it at least a handful of times in the past year in real applications when I'm doing pen tests for clients. Now, I will say the most common SSRF vulnerability, go away, VirtualBox. I hate you, VirtualBox. Thank you. The most common one that I see is just being able to do a blind SSRF, which means I can't see the input reflected to me, but I'm able to do port scans. So I'll be going through an application, I find something that might be vulnerable, and it gives me a different response if the port is open than if it's closed. And then I'm able to script that out with Python or Burp Suite Intruder, and I can very quickly enumerate their internal environment and see all the ports that are listening internally. Not major impact in and of itself, but that is valid SSRF. I haven't seen it too much where I can actually do full file read in SSRF, but still possible. Another huge thing is if you're working on an application that, let's say it's hosted by AWS, if you can get SSRF on it, there's a good chance you'll be able to read credentials for the AWS environment, access key and secret, and then you can actually log into the AWS environment. So this can really be minimal, informational, all the way up to critical, depending on what's going on. I'm not going to read through all this. Risk of SSRF, data exposure. I already talked about that. Reconnaissance, port scanning of internal networks. Once again, the most common I see is that right there. And denial of service. Now, I do pen test. I don't try to DOS clients' environments. So although I may have been able to discover that, I haven't actually tested a denial of service. In a pen test, you just want to let the client know, hey, here's the vulnerability that we see, and just fix it, right? I don't need to denial service your environment to show you that. But an attacker will, right? It's a common scenario that internal networks and servers do not expect me to request. Therefore, we can flood it, your classic flood, and cause them to be unable to handle genuine requests. So what is the average weighted impact for the SSR vulnerability as per the OWASP top 10? 6.72. Looking over at YouTube chat, Max Impact said, "Hi, do you know what rooms you can stream social videos of? I noticed in your Discord you said making videos is a good way to get a job. What if I record my learning path and post it? Would THM be upset?" No, dude, that's the coolest thing about TryHackMe. They allow you to live stream any of their rooms. Like I even got permission to live stream their business exclusive full AWS pathway. So with TryHackMe, live stream anything and everything. Even when a machine releases, like a challenge machine, technically hints aren't allowed in Discord for 72 hours, but a TryHackMe staff member told me I can still stream it. So when a brand new challenge machine comes out, I can stream it that day. They don't have any issues with it. You only have to be careful when it comes to Hack the Box. If you do Hack the Box, they're very strict about Academy. You can't stream the majority of Hack the Box Academy. I think you can only stream like the free tier 0 stuff, and you can't stream any of their active machines or active challenges. You can only do retired content. Whereas TryHackMe is a lot more streamer friendly. It's basically stream whatever you want and share what you're learning. So Max Impact, great idea. Do it. And hey, when you do it, message me on Discord. We'd love to be one of your first subscribers. All right. Types of SSRF basic. Basic SSRF is a web attack technique where an attacker tricks a server into making requests on their behalf, which we've already done, often targeting internal systems or third-party services. By exploiting vulnerabilities in input validation, the attacker can gain unauthorized access to sensitive information or control over remote resources, posing a significant security risk to the targeted application and its underlying infrastructure. A basic SSRF can be employed against a local or an internal server. We will discuss both scenarios in detail. So scenario number 1, SSRF against a local server. In this attack, the attacker makes unauthorized requests to the server through the server hosting the web app. In this type, the attacker typically supplies a loopback IP address or localhost to receive the response. How it works. So we did that. We'll notice that we see copyright, which I noticed right away. This means the developer has made some mistakes while handling a file showing the copyright status. Let's try to change the URL from that to hello, and we already noticed that PHP is not found. Whoa, so the page calls another PHP file. What if we call things like connection and config, which once again I think I did config just because that's the first thing I check, and I got the username and password. So what is the username? All right, we did all this already. It's right there. And then remember, once we get logged in, we find another one that took the IP, and then we access admin.php, and I'm guessing that's what we're going to do next. And now we can get our flag. HRMS admin. And there's that flag. Oh, maybe I should remove the word flag from the answer. That would be a good starting point, Tyler. Good job, dude. All right, let's keep going. In this task, we'll continue learning basic SSRF techniques, and we'll dive into a second scenario. In complex web apps, it's common for front-end web apps to interact with back-end internal servers. These servers are generally hosted on non-routable IP addresses, or an internal IP, so an internet user cannot access them. In this scenario, an attacker exploits a vulnerable web app to trick the server into requesting internal resources on the same network. They can provide a malicious URL as input, making the server interact. So I'm guessing this is going to be this one right here. You see that IP, same IP. I'm guessing that's going to be the flag. Let's see if I'm right. So how it works, in this attack, the attacker will try to access the internal resources that were inaccessible earlier. Now that we have acquired the credits for the login panel, we will log into the dashboard. Once we log in, we'll see a dashboard listing employees and their departments. There's a drop-down that shows employees' data and salary. From the config file, we can see that the admin panel is hosted there. If we try to log into the admin panel, it is not accessible directly. Let's try to access it. It will show an error. I guess unless you have something on that page. We have no route to the IP as it's a private network IP and can only be accessed by a machine within the same network. If we check the source of the HTML, it shows the employees dropdown, takes a URL from an internal system, and renders the data. The details of all employees are being rendered from here. So I actually did this a different way. That's cool. That's great. So the dropdown is accessing the internal system. So what if we tried to change the request such that instead of loading the employee page, we forge the request and set admin.php as a parameter? Let's do that. Use inspect element, change the dropdown value of the salary to there as shown below. Once you update that, select category, we got access to the admin panel. My way was cooler. Just kidding. My way was easier. I believe in simplicity. You just change that to admin.php, but let's do it their way as well. So we'll right click, inspect element, and I forgot where we're even looking. Was it on, oh, the actual drop down, I see. There it is. So if we change that to admin.php, here we could actually, I'm going to play around with this too before we move on. So we could do admin.php and then, whoops, I broke it. I need to change on the salary one, or else it looks like it breaks. So we'll do the salary one. Eldrick said I did it the easy way too. That's the way to do it, dude. It's always good to know how to do it more than one way. There we go. So same thing there. What else can I do with this? It seems like it breaks if you flip them back and forth. So I'm going to do this again. And I want to inspect. Can I actually make requests out to my own attacker controlled IP? So if I do, yeah, there you go. So I can even make requests out to myself and download stuff. So here, I'm going to play around with this. I'm late tonight. How's it going, Tyler? It's going well. Hey, even if you're late, it's good to have you here. Thank you for hanging out. I saw that John Hammond was live streaming at the same time as me again. He must have saw that I was streaming at 7:30 and decided to stream as well. So if you guys are coming from John Hammond, you tell him to change his streaming time. All right, if I do, we should be able to, I think we'd be able to do a few different things. Can I just do cross-site scripting on it? I wonder if there's any restriction on the file type at all here. Let me refresh this again. I promise I'll eventually go back to the room, but I like to play around with the room before I continue it. If we inspect this, .10.13.4234. Did I host the Python web server? No, I didn't. I should do that. Hey, I got cross-site scripting too. What up, my friends? Now that we do PHP, let's see if we can do either a web shell or a full reverse shell. Shell.php. Hey, thank you, Phil from IT. Appreciate the kind words. 13.4.234. And then every hacker, of course, uses port 1337. All right, go back to this, refresh it again. So that's not going to execute because it's not. Here's the problem. I'm hosting the PHP on my server, and so it's not going to execute on the actual victim server. So that's why that's not working there, I believe. But there's some other cool things we could do, but that's probably... I wonder if we're going to end up doing that. Let me just jump back to the room. Maybe we'll come back to that. But you can see there's quite a few different things you can do there. Is accessing non-routable addresses possible if a server is vulnerable to SSRF? Yeah. What is the flag value after accessing the admin panel? Shoot. I didn't copy that down. There's one more thing I want to experiment with this too. There's our flag. I want to know if it accepts the file parameter. If it does, we have full file read. Let's find out. So will it accept something like... Look at that, I have full file read. It accepts Etsy password, so we can read Etsy password because it doesn't... what it should be doing is it should have an allow list for what it allows, and it should only allow HTTP, but it doesn't have that, so I'm able to do something like file, and therefore I can read everything that's on the server. So if we look at this, what do we have? Do we have any actual users on here? We have Ubuntu. Can I read something like inspect? No, okay. If he had SSH keys, or she, whatever Ubuntu is, we'd be able to read those. But we do have full file read, so we can access our own files. We can do file read. Web shell, I don't think a web shell would work because it's not executing the PHP on when I send it myself. It's just putting it there in clear text. But I mean, we have file read. We could do a lot of things with that. We could figure out the path. Read creds. We already have access to creds, but just showing different ways of doing this. I wonder if it's going to show that in the room. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Cool. Well, I just did something it doesn't show you. I showed full file read by using the file parameter, so I win the game. I wonder what else we can do then. So we can do file. Can we do Gopher? I think Gopher is another one. Need to refresh on it though. So here's what I was doing. Exact thing right there. Whoops. The file parameter, right? We can try different ones here. Gopher. Oh, so we can communicate with other servers there. I see. Connect back to 1337. SMTP. So all similar things of what I was doing. We could try this. Should we try command injection? Let's do it. Don't know if it'll work. But hey, let's give it a shot. So we're gonna put our stuff in here, I think. Like that, and then we're just going to escape that. Not escape it, send a request essentially. No. I doubt this will work, but let's try it. Is my Python web server still running? It is. It got index.html because I didn't specify it, so it was just going to index. So I did my cross-site scripting again. We don't have command execution, as you can see, at least not easy RCE anyways. Did I just hear one of my kids? One second. Oh, looking over at LinkedIn, Reiner said, "Hey everyone, I'm from South Korea, learning a lot from the live stream, and thank you." Billy said, "It's too early here in France. Thanks that I didn't sleep. Really interesting." Thank you. Hey, I took 2 years in French in high school. I don't really remember much, but good to have you here. All right. Anything else you guys want to experiment with this before we move on? We could try. Trying to think. We could technically do port scanning, I suppose. If I change this to like 80, it would tell us port 80 is open when I switch over to it. And if it's not open, we might get an error or something. I'm not sure if this will work, but I'll try it. So then if you find something like this, you can easily script it out. No, we get the same message either way, so that wouldn't work. You might have to specify like /index, then you might be able to do something like that. Okay, back to the room. Types of SSRF blind. So blind SSRF refers to a scenario where the attacker can send requests to a target server, but they do not receive direct responses or feedback about the outcome of their requests. In other words, the attacker is blind to the server's responses. This type of SSRF can be more challenging to exploit because the attacker cannot directly see the results of the actions. We'll discuss various examples. And personally, I don't like the name blind SSRF because technically it is blind, but you can still see stuff. So for example, I'm guessing what's going to show us out of band is if you set up a Python web server or use Burp Collaborator, you can see it making its request. So in my opinion, it's not blind. You're still seeing something. You're still able to enumerate information based on responses, but you just don't see full things like etc password. Over in Carrot says, so with that question I asked earlier, it's actually a server-side cross-site scripting. Oh, interesting. And I can call back to myself to be able to retrieve something. Now I just need the RCE. Good luck, dude. You'll get it. So out-of-band SSRF is a technique where the attacker leverages a separate out-of-band communication channel instead of directly receiving responses from the target server to receive information or control the exploited server. Sounds confusing because I use big words, but look, this right here, out-of-band communication server. That's all we're doing. We're just hosting a web server, and you can easily do this in the cloud. If you spin up an AWS EC2, which is what they call a virtual machine, and you can just host a Python web server on there, same thing, and you can hit connects out to that. There's a bunch of free websites as well that do this. If we go over to Hacktricks here, I know they have a bunch. If you have Burp Suite, you can use the collaborator URL, but if you don't have Burp Suite Pro, you can't do that. All of these will do the same thing, right? So I'll show this to you real quick. If we go to something like webhook.site and we go to new, status code, all this is fine, we'll just create. Here's our unique URL. So if we are testing SSRF in an actual web application that has access to the internet, these VMs by TryHackMe don't, so this wouldn't work there. If we have it do an SSRF request, like this would be our out-of-band communication channel. So if we copy that, and if the SSRF request does curl, which it's not going to, but if it makes some type of request out to this, do v, we say, okay, let's say the backend web server did that. How do we know if SSRF is possible? Well, look at that. We have a request, and we can see the IP. So go ahead and hack my home router if you want. IP and all that information there. So when you're testing SSRF, that's one way to do it without Burp Suite Collaborator. You set up a webhook, and then from the webhook, you're able to see if it's reaching out to something without having a collaborator URL paid service. Okay. I probably just explained what it's going to talk about. This approach is practical when the server's responses are not directly accessible to the attacker. How it works, once again, log into the dashboard, click on the Profile tab. We'll see that it redirects to that, which displays a message that data is being sent. What is happening? Well, once we load profile.php, it sends data to an external page named getinfo.php, which is probably used for analytics or logs. Here, an attacker can redirect the request to their server, thus getting additional information about the server for exploitation or data pilferage. Cool. On your attack box, create a new file called server.py and add the following code to it. Okay, so we need to do the post data, and then we want to log it. I was thinking, wouldn't a regular Python web server be just fine for this? But this is going to make it look a little bit pretty because we're actually logging the data. And we'll do it both to show you the difference between the two things. Where are we doing this at again? Getinfo.php. Once you load, okay, so it's just having us set that up. Now open the browser and go to that URL, which will log the data. I thought I tried that. I must have just done it wrong. That's fine. Oh, I didn't do it on the profile thing. That's why it didn't work. Let's go to profile. Here's the URL. So if we do HTTP 10.13.4.234, let's do both of them. So if I do a simple Python web server, just be that, I believe. Port 80 is fine. So you can see our issue there. The reason it doesn't work, the simple Python web server, is it only takes GET requests, but it's making a POST request to us. So that's why we have to modify it a little bit to accept POST request. And that's essentially what this script is doing, accepting POST requests, but also just making it a little bit neater where it's writing the file. So we can actually walk through this a little bit. So if you're new to Python, Python has libraries where you can import functions that you don't have to rewrite yourself. So that's what we're doing up here. From this HTTP server, which is the library, we want you to import the simple HTTP request handler and HTTP server, which is what we're doing there. When I do Python 3-m module HTTP server, I'm importing that in. And then from URL lib parse, this is just so it parses the URLs properly. We have our custom request handler, and then we're defining a function and headers. And this says, hey, allow the request from any origin so you don't run into the origin isn't allowed and then it's going to fail. Control methods, we want to allow get post, and options, and then content type. We're sending a 200 response. That just means, hey, anything that we send, any connection someone makes to our server, let's tell them it was a good connection. Let's give them a 200 response, and we'll write, hello, we'll get request. And then for a post request, similar thing, except for we're going to decode the post request, and we're also going to write that post request to a file, right? So with open, so it's going to open up this file, and then we're going to append the post data onto this file. So every post thing that we receive, we see, and then we can go ahead and look at it. And then just our main function right here. So we will go ahead and copy this. Oh, my bad. All right, we're going to change this to 80. And right there. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Okay, now it should work. All right, we're just serving on port 80 instead of 8080 because that's where Kato is running. And now we should be able to receive the post request. And then we have our data.html here. And we can open that in Nano as well. So here's the information it sent us. We have the PHP version information. I guess, you know, we could just open this in Firefox too. Oh, it's a php.info page. I got it. So we have PHP version, your standard php.info page. We see the user group that the web app is running as. So MySQL version. Probably not going to be anything too interesting, but this is definitely a finding on an actual pen test, or if you stumble into this in the wild, please report it. Attackers could definitely use this information to plan an attack against an organization. Semi-blind. Time-based SSRF is a variation of SSRF where the attacker leverages timing-related clues or delays to infer the success or failure of their malicious request. I have also done this in the real world, once again with port scanning. I don't remember the specifics, of course, but whether or not the port was open, there's a pretty clear difference of time. And then with Intruder and Burp Suite, you can actually set a column that shows time received by the response, and I was able to use that to determine if a port was open. And that's what this is talking about. The attacker sends series requests, each targeting a different resource or URL or port. The attacker measures response time. If response takes significantly longer, it may indicate the server is successfully accessed. Same with password resets. When you go to reset a password, applications that respond saying, hey, if the account exists, we'll send you a password. But I've had it, once again, in the real world, where it gives a generic error message, but you can tell if the account exists based on the response time of the application, and then you can use that response time to enumerate valid users for password spraying or brute force attacks. Okay, does out-of-band SSRF always include a technique in which an attacker always receives direct responses? No. Make sure I'm not missing anything in chat real quick. Billy said 3:30 in the morning, happy to be here. You got deep on some tests. Interesting. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you. Thank you again for being here. What is the value for virtual directory support on the PHP server per the log data? Value. Virtual directory support disabled. What is the value of the PHP extension build on the server? Did it just mean that? No. That doesn't fit the context. What is the value of the PHP extension build on the server? Oh, that right there. Which type of SSRF doesn't give us a direct response? Blind. All right, crashing the server. One scenario, an attacker, oh, I see a typo. I think this is supposed to be N, not an. One scenario, an attacker could abuse. One scenario, and attacker could abuse SSRF. One scenario, an attacker could abuse SSRF. That just needs to be reworded. One scenario, and attacker could abuse. I think it's N. One scenario an attacker could abuse with SSRF is, I'm going to add my own, with SSRF is by crashing the server or creating a denial of service for other hosts. There are multiple instances, WordPress, Cairo, SVG, where attackers try to disrupt the availability of a system by launching SSRF attacks. We will see how a complete server crash can occur through forged requests to a vulnerable server. So crashing the server. In this type of attack, the attacker typically cannot see the response. Therefore, we need to be intuitive here. Once we log into the dashboard, we'll see a tab called Training in the navigation bar, which is used to load the training content for the employees. Remember, this is actually what I initially abused to read admin.php, was this right here. All right. Once we click on that tab, we will see that it redirects to the URL, which shows training content. We notice that the URL PHP file is loading external content displayed here. What if we try to load any other content? Try opening this file. Great, it opened the file for you. Oh yeah, it's just checking if your VPN is working. Whoops. That's not a flag we have to put in, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. So when you're doing the intro to VPN room, that's your flag because it has you connected to OpenVPN and then test. Now that we know the server is vulnerable to basic SSRF, let's explore the code of url.php to make it crash the server. Once we access this URL, we'll see the following code at the footer. Only works if the user is not logged in. Okay. So let's log out. And we're just looking at url.php. So even though it looks like it's just URL, remember it's url.php because it appends PHP onto the end of this. And if we look down at the footer, so here's our, it's downloading and encoding an image URL. So that's interesting. Oh, we're generating a flag. Query string, image size. Okay, if image size is less than 100, I'll put the image if it's within the size limit. Okay, else memory outage, server will crash. So we just need to upload. Oh, we also have the flag right there. But anyways, we just need to upload an image that is greater than 100 and it will crash the server. So just a big image is what it's telling us. And that's also going to be the final flag, but we'll do it the proper way to get the flag. If image exceeds 100 kilobytes, it will do a memory usage. Let's try to cache the server. We've already have such an image available, which you can forge, but we could do it ourselves. We don't need to use their image. We could, I mean, most images are going to be bigger than that, right? So if I download this, save images to home, TryHackMe, SSRF. Didn't I have a web server? Oh, I put the web server there. Why would I do such a silly thing? Oh, but does it have to be JPEG though? It might actually have to be JPEG. But I could just rename it. I don't think it's checking the files. And then I think we need to log back in, right? Can I just back and log back in? Yellow it? Yeah, okay. Do we need HTTP? I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't think so because it's already doing that. Why, Firefox? Why do you hate me? Like, who in their right mind wants to Google that? Like, obviously I don't want to Google that. There, I crashed it myself. Server crashed. Boom. All right, let's see the remedial measures. Mitigation measures for SSRF are essential for preserving the security and integrity of web apps. Implementing robust SSRF mitigation measures helps protect against these risks by fortifying the application's defenses, preventing malicious requests, and bolstering the overall security posture. As a critical element of web app security, SSRF mitigation measures are instrumental in preserving user data, safeguarding against data breaches, and maintaining trust in the digital ecosystem. A few of the important policies are mentioned below. So implement strict input validation, sanitize all user input. We see that all the time. Always sanitize user input. Never trust users. Instead of trying to block lists or filter out disallowed URLs, maintain an allow list, which, hey, y'all, if you were earlier in the stream, I specifically said that when I was able to do full file read with the file thing, I said, hey, the org should have an allow list. I specifically didn't say a block list because it's easy to bypass that, but an allow list. Implement network segmentation, so even if a host is compromised, they can't reach sensitive internal resources. The principle of least privilege applies not only to employees, but also to systems. Implement security hazards, such as content security policy that restricts the application's load of external resources. Implement strong access control for internal resources. Kind of already talked about that. Implement comprehensive logging and monitoring. That's key as well. And just want to point out multiple things. It's not a magic bullet, right? Whenever it comes to InfoSec, especially in the blue team side of things, it's defense in depth. You have multiple layers of defense. So if an attacker breaks through one layer, they have another layer that's going to annoy them and stop them. You want to make the attacker's life difficult. Which of the following is a suggested approach while handling trusted URLs? Write the correct option only. Oh, okay. Filtering out, maintaining, which I've already harped on. Since SSRF mainly exploits server-side requests, it is optional to sanitize the input URLs or parameters. No, it's never optional to sanitize. Conclusion. In this course, we've covered the details of SSRF while shedding light on basic, blind, and time-based techniques. The course aimed at providing you with a comprehensive understanding of this vulnerability within web apps through hands-on exercises and daily life scenarios. Moreover, we have also accessed some automated and manual tools to detect SSRF and remedial measures to protect from the vulnerability. Stay tuned for more insights, updates, and exciting content on advanced server-side attacks. I have completed the room. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, not only did we complete the SSRF room, I showed, probably not unintended is the right word, but I showed how to get full file read with one of the attacks, not just HTTP, but doing file, and we were able to read etc password. We could enumerate that further, but what that is often just a Docker container because we have two machines running, but one machine's inside the other. So it's a Docker container, so it probably doesn't have much there that we could even look at. But we did get full file read on that underlying system in a very real world way that you will see it. I showed you how to do some port scanning type stuff, but the room is complete. So hope you enjoy the process. Hope you learned something out of it. This is going to be the only thing I do for the live stream this evening. I'll probably be back tomorrow. We'll see. I'll be on again a couple more times this week. And the other times we might dive into something new, maybe a CTF, maybe some blue team content. I've been working through the SOC 2 path on TryHackMe and have really enjoyed that, so maybe we'll do some threat hunting sometime on stream. But hey, before I sign off, I will just say if anyone has questions about pen testing, careers, me, whatever you want, I'll hang around and answer any questions people might have. So if you have a question, drop in the chat. Otherwise, forever hold your peace. Okay, who is Habib said, hey man, sorry to jump in, but I have a question regarding BLT1. It would be really helpful if you could answer. I don't know what BLT1 is. Let me Google that. Oh, Blue Team Level 1 certification. Is that what you mean? I've never taken that cert, so I'm not sure if I would be able to help you or not. I'm also not a blue teamer, though I know some of it. Let me know what your question is. I want to give exam this week and want to practice for the exam. Can you recommend anything? Yeah, okay. I can. So what I would recommend is on TryHackMe. If you go to the learn path here, for the blue team level 1, I'm not, let me see what's all in scope here. So security fundamentals, okay, so pretty basic introductory type stuff. So if you go to TryHackMe and learn, the SOC 1 analyst, I think, is kind of what you'd be looking for. I haven't actually done too much of the SOC 1, but I have been going through the SOC 2 path. So SOC 1, let's just look at this real quick. Monitor, investigate alerts, configure security tools, develop, implement IDS signatures, escalate security incidents. So I believe, looking at that, we even have phishing here. So this is going to cover, I think, everything in that blue team 1. I've been going through the SOC level 2 path, but I think this is going to be an overkill. This is more advanced stuff, but it has been really good. One room I want to do on stream, I try to wait to do the challenge room so I'm on stream. Let's see, we have SIG Hunt. I think I want to attempt live on stream, and I'm going through threat hunting right now, and we might work through some of that on stream. Yeah, you're on the right path, my friend. Anything else? Max Impact said, how long do you think it would take for someone that is changing fields to get a job in pen testing? You know, that's a tough question because every one of us is different based on our just our aptitude, I think, for learning and powering through stuff, and all depends on your past background. So for me personally, I made the switch into IT back in 2020. Was it 2020 or 2021? I don't even remember now. 2024 now. I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was the fall of 2021. I made my switch into IT. I was in pastoral ministry, was a pastor for 10 years, but got kind of burnt out dealing with people through COVID and all the drama that surrounded COVID. And just as like, yo, I need a break from people on computers. Computers aren't as mean as people sometimes. Even church religious people, they can be meaner than non-religious people a lot of the time. And so got kind of burnt out on that and switched over to IT in 2021 and landed my first role pretty quickly as IT support level 1 while I was working on my bachelor's degree at WGU. But it took me, my first role, I was making about $50,000 a year, IT support level 1, which is way more than I ever made as a pastor. I felt like freaking super rich at that point, and took me about 2 years before I became a pen tester. So I went from IT support level 1 to a manager of IT support because of my leadership experience in the church world. Then I became an analyst on the blue team side of things at a bank for a short time. And then I became a pen tester at Rhino, and that's where I've been for the past year and 2 months. Started as an associate, recently got promoted to career pen tester. So I was an associate, now I'm a career pen tester, which is exciting stuff, but took me about 2 years to become a pen tester. Yeah, no problem. If anyone else has questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will sign off for the evening. But really do appreciate all of you taking the time to hang out with me. Makes it a lot less boring when it's just me talking to no one. I remember when I first started streaming. I started my YouTube channel in February of 2022, I think. And then I started streaming shortly after that. And most of my streams had 0 people watching or 1 person watching because it was me on my phone making sure everything was good. So it's cool that there's actually people hanging out with me doing this together. So really appreciate you all here. Unknown Artist said, congrats on 10K. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, so if you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do it. That is my main platform. Just surpassed 10,000 subscribers, which is crazy. If you just search for Tyler Ramsbey on YouTube, you'll find it. I'm at the point where, like, it's crazy to me. Organizations are reaching out. One was like, hey, can we have a conversation about sponsoring videos? So like, you know, the bigger YouTubers saying, hey, this video is brought to you by so-and-so. So I might do that. I always want to dig into the orgs before I do it. Another org that I'm excited about, I'll have 2 videos coming out for them, like actual videos, but they have a pretty cool platform. Actually, you know what? I'll even just show it to you guys. This isn't the official thing. Let's see. So there's this Square X. I'll have a whole video that explains all of this, but quite a cool application here. Essentially, it allows you, I think I have my account on here. Yeah, I don't have it. Square X allows you to open up emails or websites, but it does it almost in a TryHackMe VM. So let's say this is a suspicious link. I can right click it and say open in Square X, and it'll actually open it in like an AWS EC2 in a isolated browser. So you can analyze it that way. It can also download files. So if you want to look at malware, but not on your host computer, you can right click open in Square X and it'll open it in EC2, like AWS environment, and you can check it out there. And then with emails, they have some cool things you can do with emails as you analyze phishing emails without getting attacked. So, that's cool. I'll be coming out the video for them. They offered some really good money, which I appreciate, just to make a couple of videos for them. So I'll be coming out with those. Those will be actually dedicated videos to them. But I'm only making dedicated videos because I actually think it's cool. And shoot, I would just do it myself. Is there a paywall? No, nothing I do is behind a paywall, St. Phil, and I'm gonna keep it that way. Everything I do is free of charge. So Discord stuff, I will say, like, a lot of people message me, y'all, on LinkedIn and Discord, and I cannot respond to everyone. Like right now, let me check out LinkedIn real quick. I don't know how like John Hammond, the bigger people do it, but on LinkedIn right now, I have 700 requests. I can't manage all the requests. So like if you've sent me a message and I ignore you, it's not on purpose. The best way to get a hold of me is to talk to me when I'm on stream, or tag me on Discord. And I think someone asked, is there a Discord? There is a Discord, but I don't know how to hook it up to YouTube chat. Yeah, I'll drop the Discord link right now. Who is? 1 second. Oh, you sent me a LinkedIn, St. Phil? I apologize. I'll have to check it out, dude. Like I said, I get So many messages. It's not that I don't want to respond to everyone, but yo, outside of this, here, I'll drop the Discord there. So like I work full time as a pen tester. So I work your typical, I work 8 to 5 each day. I have 2 young kids, 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, which is crazy, wife. So outside of work and streaming, yo, it's hard for me to respond to messages, but do appreciate you guys supporting your kind words. All right, anything else? Otherwise, I'll sign off. For those of you on YouTube, hey, this is what you miss when you don't join me for the live streams, right? If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, appreciate you as well. But there's something cool about live streaming. We can have this kind of back and forth and hang out together after we complete rooms and hack stuff, or while we're completing rooms and hacking stuff. All right. I think we're good. Let me double check LinkedIn. I always have to refresh LinkedIn. Make sure I'm not missing anything there. Oh, okay, I got a few questions on LinkedIn. Billy said, do you make live bug bounty like this? I do not do it. And I don't do a whole lot of bug bounties. So I only have a handful of bug bounties. Actually, more like a 3 full of bug bounties. I only have 3 bug bounties. One was a pretty big one that led to account takeover. So my biggest payout, I made $2,000 off of 1 bug. But my other ones are just cross-site scripting, like $300 a bug, I think. But I just don't do bug bounties since I do pen testing for a living. I don't feel like spending my evenings like doing bug bounty for companies for free, whereas companies can pay Rhino and I'll do their pen test. So I just don't do a whole lot of bug bounty. But if I wasn't doing this for a living, I definitely would. Next stream on Friday? I don't know, dude. Like I said, my streams all depend on kind of my kids' schedules and what I have going on. But I stream multiple times a week, so just stay tuned. At least I'd say 2 or 3 times a week I'm on stream. I always start around 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, though. So, all right. Who's Sabib said, if you have to start over, what will you not do in your path? All right. I'll give you. Actually, I'll stay on stream, but for those of you on YouTube, I am going to sign off. I know that you probably watch for the SSRF thing, not all these questions. So for those of you on YouTube, thank you for hanging out, at least the YouTube after the fact. The live stream, I'll hang on. YouTube after the fact, thank you for being here. Y'all can catch me in the next video. Peace.